8:10 a.m. or on YouTube, channel RJAM News. You can now listen to RJFM and DZRJ 8:10 a.m. from wherever you are. Just type in RJ 100.3 FM on TuneIn Radio, Streama, Radio Garden, and just type in RJFM for online box radio. For DZRJ 8:10 a.m., just type in DZRJ 8:10 a.m. on TuneIn Radio, Streama, and Radio Garden. Happy listening! To all Teleradio Bandido viewers and listeners, you can now watch Teleradio Bandido on our new YouTube channel, RJAM News. Hit the subscribe button and like the video. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified when a new video gets uploaded. Don't miss out on our dynamite lineup. Education Radio, hosted by Pia Morato, is on Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Teleradio Bandido, Channel 224 Sky Cable, TV Plus boxes, digital free-to-air Channel 29, Facebook.com/DZRJ 8:10 a.m. and YouTube channel RJAM News. This brings service to all educators and learners of every age. The program guests include secretaries, dignitaries, ambassadors, lawmakers, professors, volunteers, and heroes, all dedicated to contribute to this valuable advocacy. We take the streets to the classroom and the classroom to the streets.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Sec. Good morning, Attorney.
Good morning, Pia.
Good morning, our future Senator.
Thank you so much.
Teodoro. Thank you so much for being on Education Radio today. Just to give you a quick background, sir, this radio program especially started for our teachers all around the nation, for our DepEd teachers who have only their Saturdays, to basically tune in the morning and catch up with the latest on education, especially in the far-flung areas. And that is because I worked at DepEd with Undersecretary Jesly Lapos in those days, under your time also with President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. So we thought that, and we firmly believe that radio would really help us also get through all our teachers, especially in areas where they have very little access to tools and learning. So thank you so much in behalf of all of our teachers, Secretary Gilberto Teodoro, for being on Education Radio today.
Well, we also thank our teachers really very much for all their sacrifices and their service to the country, not only in teaching our young, being surrogate parents to our young, but also being health volunteers, because schools are also vaccination centers.
Yes. So we have a lot of difficult tasks to really accomplish, and they are till today one of our biggest heroes as well. So I have total respect, just like you, sir, for all our teachers out there. I'd like to give an introduction for everyone. Former Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro Jr. said, when it comes to educational reform, it is a platform that he wishes to examine and take a deeper look into. He wants to ascertain the effectiveness of what and how it is being taught in all levels, and look into the content and condition of their learning materials, particularly the textbooks that can be outdated and damaged. Gibo Teodoro, a lawyer and the 1989 bar top-notcher, said higher education must be based on merit and should be free or affordable. It must be free to those who are truly deserving and affordable to those who can afford it and are also at the same time deserving. Gibo said that the state must invest in quality education starting at the pre-kindergarten level. He asserts that even in the electronic age, relevant content and face-to-face learning is essential. Again, sir, welcome to Education Radio. This is part of your 7 pillars. This is the second pillar, which is quality education that should
Yes.
be accessible to everyone. Sir, tell us more
Yes.
about this.
Well, it's easy to say accessible and quality education, but it will really need a thorough review, not only of the content, but of the systems. And after that review, uh, you also have a baseline now of comparison with international standards, with emerging technologies, with emerging events, and with the new teaching skills and trends, particularly in the pre-K level, where a lot of psychology needs to be put into it, particularly in this age of distance learning, where social skills of the children are sacrificed, no, because they can't work as a group.
Mhm.
In that sense, too, our teachers would have a more difficult task, really, of supervising and being examples to our children, because then the mentoring becomes detached because of the unavailability of face to more continuous face-to-face learning.
Yeah.
Secondly, in the K-12, we really have to review the content, because the intent of the K-12 really is to have, as I see it, a junior college level. Now, when you enter, if you need to enter the tertiary level, or college level, the main complaint is you have K-12, but why are our bachelor or baccalaureate degrees 4 years, not 3 years, as in other countries? No?
Mhm.
And perhaps also, in order to stimulate interests, institutions of higher learning have to be capacitated to offer as much electives as possible, no? And to transform them not only to teaching institutions, but to actual research and development institutions, no? Actually, ratings of universities in the world are based on the amount of R&D, the amount of publications their faculty come out with, and the amount of innovation that they can come up with. So basically, that is what we really need to do. And it will need a lot of cooperation, not only with DepEd, but with CHED and with the SWD too. And that's what probably you can call the total care package
Yes.
that you need to do. And it can't be done in one term,
Mhm.
but if you spend a lot of time in analyzing and studying what needs to be done, even though you spend 2 to 3 years on that,
Mhm.
the investment will be well worth it, because you don't want to embark on constantly changing or wrong programs, because then it will be money not well spent.
Yes, I agree. You mentioned the total package or the total educational package. And for our teachers who are listening out there, they will ask and say the total learning package will begin from the home, which is why you mentioned earlier early childhood education or the pre-kindergarten level. You mentioned
Yes.
before, I've read it also, that beginning in daycare. And if you're not going through daycare, you're doing this at home. So
Yes.
significantly, we need to mention also, sir, that learning begins at home with the parents.
True. Especially in these days and age where you have a conflict between the access to information of kids and the values that their parents need to impart. That is a very big challenge, because they're impressionable, and if they have access, really, and you cannot restrict access to social media, to other influences, and the mentoring of the parents are not there, that because of the fact that maybe the parents really need to work. They don't have time to care for their kids. There should be a default mechanism by the state in order to provide the proper care, particularly when they are most vulnerable.
Yes, I agree with that. So that is why we have the K to 12, but we're talking early childhood education, which is
Yes.
pre-kinder, pre-K or pre-K, and hopefully the parents and teachers can work hand in hand with this. I have to say that this is very relevant because by the time that the child gets into first grade, which is traditional schooling already, the beginning of traditional schooling, many of our teachers also often express how difficult it can be where their children or their students don't know just very basic things that they ought to learn at home. Having said that now, moving forward, sir, in traditional school, we often also like to talk about how important content is. I'll move forward into the research and development because that's part of that. And I love that you say this because we have been harping on basically teacher training, how important teacher training is. And in 2021, you said one of the best ways to motivate a student is to have a good teacher. And we've been students at one point, and we never forget the best teachers that we've had. So
Yes.
teacher training or teacher factor is so very important. Training and development of teachers. Your take, sir.
Well, naturally, I mean, we've experienced being mentored by our teachers. We didn't appreciate perhaps what they did before, but becoming
Not
parents,
everyone.
you realize how difficult the job is, particularly with a large class student to teacher ratio.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and the amount of sacrifice and work, and even let's put it, peril. Fortunately, not in the Philippines, but let's say in other countries in the inner cities, teachers are also at risk because of non-ideal value settings. It's really an admirable thing that they do, and it's really not. We can't compensate them enough. So we really have to be thankful and ameliorate them for the amount of work that they need to do. But they want to do a good job too. And so for me, my experience though is let's really capacitate our teachers with knowledge and skills, but let's not also put them through the ringer, so to speak. You need so many degrees. You need you need master's degrees or whatnot. My take on this is if it's not technical master's degree and there is no dissertation proposal that will contribute to academic knowledge or literature, let's not require it.
Yes, I'm with you there.
I mean, training examinations, continuous mandatory education programs are sufficient in order to keep our teachers up to speed, but to require them to make dissertations when it's not necessary, unless they become tenured members of the faculty of or higher officials of institutes of higher learning, or in supervising really basic education or positions of utmost responsibility, then perhaps let's not require it. We see even the degree requirement in the police, which is absolutely not necessary in my view.
Yes.
So I think this reflects also on the degree consciousness of our society. And I cannot help but echo a late professor of mine in the UP College of Law said that the amount, I can't quote him directly, but to paraphrase him, that in our culture, each diploma on the wall, because of the degree consciousness, becomes an affront to the dignity of human labor, of
Yes.
which we really have to give respect and value to. No, skilled labor, artisanal labor,
Yes.
must be appreciated in parallel with that diploma, or equivalent to that diploma.
Okay, let's talk in a different language now, Secretary, because you speak 7, I think. So magtagalog muna ako. No, 7. Is it 7 dialects or like includes dialects?
I can understand about 4 or 5, but I speak fluently Ilocano, and I can go on a conversation in Ilonggo and a little bit of Visayan, and I understand Kapampangan, of course.
Yes.
But I can't speak it fluently.
Okay. So sinabi niyo po, ang bawat isang Pilipino ay likas na yaman. Okay, so we are a resource. You consider the Filipino people as one of the most important, pinaka-importanting natural resource ng ating bansa ay ang tao, ang Pilipino, 'di ba? Oh. So, education, human right natin po ito. And it should be affordable and accessible to everyone. Now, sabi niyo nga po, hindi to isang question lang on paano gagawin ng gobyerno ang pagbibigay ng edukasyon. Pero, ang kind or anong klaseng edukasyon ang maibibigay natin sa taong bayan or sa mga estudyante.
Oo, tama yan. Yung kalidad ng edukasyon, lalong-lalo na sa ating public school system. Talagang mailahad ko lang ang aking lolo, ang tatay ng aking ama, ay guro din, isa sa unang pensyonado na pinadala sa Amerika, at he taught in the UP College of Education when he came back. Nung bumalik siya, nagturo siya sa UP College of Education, kasukli nung kanyang pagpapaaral. Ang kaklase niya ay naging senador, si Camilo Osias, dalawa sila. Sa Illinois Teachers College, nag-graduate yung aking lolo, tapos nag-master sa Notre Dame at saka sa Columbia. Tapos nagturo ng mga guro. Tapos nag-law, no? So, importante talaga. Pero, sinasabi nila na ang kalidad ng public school system ay bumaba. Ako'y hindi sumasang-ayon. Hindi kasalanan ng public school system. Hindi kasi sumabay ang pagka-progresibo ng pamahalaan na tumugon sa public school system sa kabila ng mabilis na pagdevelop ng mundo, Kasi naka-suspend in time yung ating edukasyon. Pagkatapos, dahil din sa katotohanan na kailangan mabuhay ng marangal ang ating mga guro, marami sa kanila na umiba yung dagat.
Yes, totoo.
Nakakaabala nga, Pia, at mga nanonood, nakakita ako ng advertisement few months back for English teachers sa Japan, 150,000 pesos net.
Yes.
Ang kikitain. So,
marami naman pong aalis na naman.
Hindi, sino
It's
ba naman?
It's actually full, sir. Yeah.
Oo nga. Sino ba naman in his or her right mind, if it's an economic question for the benefit of the family, na hindi kakagat dyan? Of course, merong trade-off na quality of life, kung komportable ka naman dito, pero syempre kailangan may inganyo din na kahit kaunti man lang, na i-ameliorate natin ang mga kondisyon nila at ang kakayahan nila at ang pasilidades nila. Ngayon, sinasabi din natin ang ating mga tao ay likas na yaman. But this must be managed. Now,
Yes.
for it to be managed, it must our population also must be kept on a manageable level.
Okay.
So, dito importante din ang edukasyon ng pamilya sa tamang pamamaraan na pag-aalaga ng pamilya. Lalong-lalo na kung ating iisipin ng habitable areas natin dahil sa climate change at sa increasing ferocity ng disasters ay lumiliit habang lumalaki ang ating populasyon. Yan ay kahit na sa labas, akala natin walang koneksyon, malaki ang koneksyon dahil ang dami mong kliyente, nga, na palaki ng palaki, pakonti naman ng pakonti, ang mga lugar o facilities na pwedeng tumugon sa kanila. Yung mga kliyente natin ay ang mga kabataan.
Nice. So, basic education reform naman po tayo. You speak rin, in line with this na sir, ituturo ko na rin. You speak of curriculum. And I love this part. The curriculum in basic and higher education. Kasi upgrade po tayo ng quality education. We're talking about quality education. So we need to upgrade. We need teacher training. At the same time, the students also need an upgrade. Sabay po kasi yan. Ang nangyayari po kasi sa amin, especially with DepEd teachers who, when we get to talking sa public schools, sinasabi nila, ma'am, ano pong gagawin? Halimbawa lang po, anong gagawin po namin? Paminsan grade 6, mas maalam pa yung estudyante kasi sa amin. Kasi meron na silang digital world eh. Diba? So the children right now seem to be coping faster with technology, and we always say you need to be partners with technology also to the teachers, but some of them are also afraid of it, right? But they see that there already this discrepancy between them and their students.
Well, iyan ay talagang mahirap din na transition, pero kailangan gawin from the paper age to the digital age at saka teknolohiya, kasi ang dami talagang masasagap dyan. Ako man, sa lingwahe, mahirap na rin mag-relate din sa mga kabataan dahil iba ng terminology na ginagamit nila sa panahon natin. Lalo-lalo na ang training ko ay bilang isang abogado, statesmanship training, ngayon ay mas direkto ang means of communication at saka shorthand pa. Ngayon, syempre, conflict din yan dahil ang ating mga guro ay ayaw yung shortcut na text lingo, no? Pero kung coded na yung ating digital messaging, kinakailangan mag-adapt din. So, mahirap maghanap ng balanse, aaminin ko. Ako man ay humaharap dito sa hamon na ito, no?
Yes.
Ngunit kinakailangan talaga, palagay ko, phased in transition, may new breed na mga primary education teachers, pre-K, na bago na ang training module nila.
Tama.
Kasi hindi mo naman pwedeng biglain kung hindi hilaw ang mangyayari o mali ang mangyayari.
Yes. And they
Pero
have yes. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have a lot on their hands already. The teachers are really overloaded.
Oo, totoo yun. Malaki, overloaded sila. Tapos ang curriculum talaga, dapat siguro dinidesign na rin talaga ng dalubhasa. Lalo na ang ating kasaysayan, Kasi ang ating kasaysayan ay, sa tingin ko, the way we teach history o civics ay based on one homogeneous Filipino.
Yes.
Pero hindi ito nagbibigay ng karampatang pagpuri or pagtaguyod sa iba't ibang kultura, lingwahe, at karangalan ng mga rehiyon. Kaya hindi tayo minsan nagkakaintindihan because it's a lack of awareness and respect. Kailangan i-preserve ito kasi ako natatakot din ako dahil in a space of let's say 15 years na doon lang sa aking home region, home district, yung Ilocano ang major language doon. Minsan, pag kinakausap ko sila, hindi na nila naintindihan. Masyado na daw malalim. So, ayaw kong mawala itong mga marka
Tradition,
ng kultura na ito. At saka ayaw ko rin ang revisionism ng history na papalit-palit. No?
Yes.
So, sometimes naman, talagang it takes time na magkaroon ng atmosphere na maging objective ang mga social scientists natin para ma-view with a clear lens kung ano nangyari. No?
Tama.
Katulad lang anthropologically, sinasabi nila nung araw ay galing daw Malaysia ang civilization, pumunta dito. Pero sinasabi naman ng anthropologists ngayon na Indo-Polynesian tayo nauna dito at magulo. So kailangan talaga pag-aralan ng dalubhasa upang sa ganon maging mas analitiko at mas critical. Hindi cynical, critical. Meaning to say, may proseso at may istruktura ang pagtitingin o pagtanaw sa katotohanan.
Yes. Agree.
Ang ating mga kababayan.
Yes. Tama. So from curriculum now, you're saying, sir, na we need to strengthen the country's research and development. Kasi patungo na po tayo dyan.
Yun ang dulo.
Yeah.
Yun ang ugat eh.
Yeah. It
Ngayon,
needs more attention.
And it needs more investments.
Yes.
No? Ang problema kasi, for example, yung humanities, hindi ito quote-unquote sexy na courses, no? So, hindi ini-investan ito gaano sa aking palagay. I could be wrong. Pero ito ang kinakailangan, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga public servants sa bureaucracy, lalong-lalo na sa planners, sa geopolitics natin, sa international relations natin. Kinakailangan natin ng madalubhasa dyan. Ngayon, investments din sa ating technological research, no, and development para maging innovation society tayo, isa rin sa ating mga programa. At kailangan talaga mag-partner tayo because yung homegrown or appropriate technology natin nung araw, kahit na sa modernization nung araw, it's substituting locally made things, which can be good at times. Pero right now, kasi sa technological world, kung may mas maganda na serbisyo, product, idea, or system, makipag-partner ka kung saan ito mabuting pinakamabisa at pinaka-cost effective na pwede kang makakuha ng technological transfer. At huwag tayong matakot magpadala ng ating mga kababayan na mag-aral sa ibang bansa. Kasi nung araw, kinatatakutan na hindi nababalik. Pero hindi ako naniniwala doon. Katulad ng Balik Scientist Program ng DOST, napakarami ng mga scientists natin na bumabalik at tumutulong sa ating mga bansa. Pati sa Armed Forces of the Philippines, ang mga pinapag-aral natin na ino-offeran ng teaching positions sa ibang mga bansa, bumabalik dahil may palabra de honor sa kanilang bansa at mahal nila ang kanilang bansa.
Maybe like after a year, they come back. I've heard of this too, sir. A year or two, they come back and contribute. That's really what they want in the first place. Kasi
At saka, Pia, they don't need to be physically here, actually. If you think about it, kasi they can hold online classes, the transfer of information right now. Hindi ba, yung distance learning nga sa medical field, pinakikitaan ka ng procedure na sa operating theater ka sa ibang bansa na may virtual nasisimulate mo.
Partner na sila with technology at this point. Ginagamit na talaga. We need to do this. Many of us are
Lalo na in the
afraid.
future pag may robotics, no?
Yes.
Nagiging borderless na talaga ang mundo paminsan-minsan. Hindi mo talaga makukontrola.
Totoo yan. Right? And we shouldn't be afraid of it, sir. Dapat hindi tayo natatakot yan kasi ang robotics nga, mga 2006 pa siguro, marami nang nag-aaral ng robotics kabataan. So I wonder how they are doing right now. Baka sila na po yung gumagawa ng kung ano-ano sa ibang bansa. Hopefully, it's here. But these people, they like to go to another country for more opportunities, which is the reality, actually.
Yeah. So itutugon din naman natin ang educational system natin sana. Hindi sa pangangailangan ng merkado sa ngayon. Siyempre, importante din yun para sa empleyo, no? At sa trabaho. Pero kailangan babalansehin din natin ng long germination na mga proyekto. Kasi, for example, kung iisipin natin ang mga investments na high risk talaga na baka walang nangyari, di sana hindi na nagkaroon ng mga bakuna laban sa COVID-19. Kasi nung ininvestan ito ng mga bansa, no, gobyerno, mga nag-invest dito, and they took the risk. Bilyon-bilyong dolar ang ininvest dito without even a certainty na magkakaroon ng positive result.
That's true. Diba? That's true. What about naman po like higher education reform? Because tertiary is free. And we took a shift nga from student loans. You also said this before. From student loans to endowments for specialized education. And R&D, right? To help build local talent. Right? I love that you say this because you also mentioned earlier na meron na tayong balik scientist and meron din tayong balik probinsya. There's so much in our country that we haven't explored because if you're saying, and I believe this too, sir, that yun na nga, ang bawat Pilipino ay likas na yaman, ang Pilipinas mismo, talagang malaki po ang kayamanan ng Pilipinas that we have not really explored as much as we should because hindi na po rin natin alam ang geographical state ba ng mga probinsya natin. It's also my experience, sir, kasi when I go to the province, nakikita ko po yung mga barangay, halimbawa, hindi na po nila alam yung area nila, yung surrounding waters nila, and these are leaders, These are leaders in the barangays, sir. And for me, I always say it boils down to that education. But now, with tertiary education being free already, and we want to specialize in this local talent, what can we do so that when all these learners eventually go out in the world and decide to be public servants, for example, at least they don't only have basic knowledge, but they can move up, level up, I'd like to say.
Talagang sa tingin ko, no, the basis really is rather than lecture type of teaching, kailangan research-based ang ating tertiary level education. Submitting papers, submitting concepts, discussing concepts rather than formulate, except for mathematics, naturally, and sciences, no. Submitting dekahon na test papers. Kasi if you have a research-based teaching concept rather than lecture-based, yung process of learning, the method of learning na nagkakaroon ng habits ng pagre-research, pagsasaliksik sa mga fields nila na tuloy-tuloy because learning is a lifelong experience, no? And upgrading your skills is a lifelong endeavor. Unfortunately, the realities of life hamper that. Lalong-lalo na kung malaki ang responsibilidad mo sa bürokrasiya, wala ka ng panahon para mag-isip dahil sa dami ng ginagawa mong trabaho. So, for me, that is a fundamental shift that needs to be done, no? And then, kailangan talaga maghuhubog ka talaga ng iyong mga scholars na nagpapakita ng kakaibang talento, no, habang bata pa. Kaya nandyan nga yung Philippine Science High School at the same kinds of institutions, ano. And then you have to streamline this up. Katulad din ng intermed program diyan sa UP na pinabibilis nga yung medisina sa mga extremely talented na mga tao, no, na mga kabataan na magaganda ang entrance exam results nila, nagiging oblation scholars. Ganun din naman ang ating mga universities, ano, at kailangan talaga based on their geographic locations, magkaroon din sila ng specialties. Like, I remember once nagpunta kami ng Tawi-Tawi because there was an extension school of mariculture sa Cebu, I think, the island of Cebu, kasi dun talaga pwedeng gumawa ng research and development. So, geographically, pwede yon. And then, importante din sa ating mga SUCs ang partnering with educational institutions around the world.
Nice. So,
lalo na yung gap year abroad.
Yon, oo.
Maganda yon.
Maganda yon. I believe in that. Yes, I believe in that.
Para maka-experience ang ating mga estudyante kung paano ang pag-aaral sa ibang mga bansa, at bago yon, syempre, prepare sila sa basic language skills nung bansa na pupuntahan nila.
Tama po. Tama.
Ngayon, ma-expand din ang linguistic skills ng ating mga estudyante.
Tama po yan. So
kasi
what kind?
Tourism tayo, no? Tourism
Totoo.
tayo, international, multinational destination. So, we need the widest amount of linguistic skills possible.
I agree. I speak 3 languages.
I know.
One which is Spanish. And I'm telling you, I have to bring this up because we brought this back thanks to PGMA in those days also, and to my former boss, the secretary. We brought this back into the curriculum. And so many of our teachers who are also tuning in right now, they speak Spanish at in-depth. You know, they have also studied in Spain, right? So you're talking about this gap year where these teachers have actually been able to study in Spain, learn the culture, learn the language, and when they have gone back to the Philippines in the next year or the next school year, I promise you, it was a real victory for the students to also be Spanish speaking like their teacher.
The only thing I can contribute to that is I went to a school, Xavier School, which taught Mandarin. At that time, they were teaching language, even our mandatory Spanish courses, no, in college. I think ang required no, there are four modules, no. So the first 2 years of college, they teach it as an academic course na hindi pwede yun eh. Pag nagtuturo ka ng lingwahe, lingwahe yan, komunikasyon yan.
Correct po.
So dapat ganon ang approach. Kaya hindi ako natuto, may naalala ako ng konti na Mandarin na hindi naman applicable na ngayon kasi yung traditional na Mandarin ang tinuro sa amin dahil nung panahon na yon, nung nag-umpisa kami, wala pang diplomatic relations sa China noon. So, pati yung pagsusulat na tinuro sa amin, hindi na yun ang ginagamit ngayon. Iba na. So, pati yung accent, hindi ko na makuha. At saka, yung mga test, minememorya na lang namin, hindi naman na namin naintindihan.
Yes.
No? Lalong-lalo na kami na hindi nagsasalita ng Chinese sa bahay. Kahit yung mga kaklase ko na Chinese, nahihirapan din dahil iba yung dialect nila na ginagamit sa bahay. Yung Fukienese, yung dialect, napakalayo sa Mandarin, no? Pero yun, yung Hokkien tawag nila, nawawala na rin yun ngayon dahil dapat i-preserve din yan ang Chinoy culture, dapat i-preserve din yan.
Correct.
So yan ang masasabi ko. Pag nagtuturo tayo ng lingwahe, mag-usap tayo.
Tama. Has to be dapat applicable. 'Di ba? Kaya nga itong show, sir, sinasabi natin, take the streets into the classroom to the streets, 'di ba? Kasi dapat nagagamit po natin ito. Importante po 'yon. Lalo na kunyari may opportunity ka sa ibang bansa, alam mo naman po natin kailangan may practice din 'yon. So tama po kayo. I agree.
Yes.
Dapat may practice.
Pati sa ating geopolitical experts, no, kailangan din talaga ng language expertise at hindi madali mangyari ito. At saka hindi pwedeng crash course dito, talaga specialization dito kasi halimbawa ikaw nagsasalita ka ng Spanish, Castilian Spanish yan. Pagdating mo sa Central o South America, iba na yung nuances, no?
They have their local words. Meron
yun nga, at saka minsan yung inosente sa isang lugar, hindi na maganda ang ibig sabihin sa ibang lugar.
Tama po. Yeah, it's very specific talaga po ang language kung ano siya for even, let's say, medicine, for commerce, for the industry of, let's say, the food industry, iba po yun, di ba? Kailangan, tsaka dapat applicable. Having said that, sir, what do you think? Kasi pinag-uusapan nyo lagi yung bagong Pilipinas para sa bagong henerasyon. And ang dating nito sa akin, at sa karamihan, ay para sa, lalong-lalo na para sa youth, sa kabataan, di ba? Kasi kung tutuusin po natin, sila na po yung magiging bagong leaders eventually. And sila yung minomold po natin. So, ano po sa tingin nyo ang future, di ba, na nakikita, or ang gusto ng ating mga kabataan?
Ang role ng henerasyon natin dito ay i-capacitate sila na magkaroon ng tools na isipin kung anong klaseng bansa ang gusto nila sa kinabukasan. Kailangan meron silang vision, meron silang mga adhikain na dapat hubugin nila ito, lalong-lalo na after the pandemic. Madalas kong ang ginagawang halimbawa, kung hindi na ba talaga nagbaliktad ang mundo, nung araw, nung araw pag nakakita ka sa barangay, lalo na sa probinsya, may tao na nakamaskara, pahuhuli mo yan dahil ibig sabihin, tulisan
may tinatago.
O baka magnanakaw yan or whatever. Ngayon naman, pag hindi nakamaskara, yun ang sinisita.
Oo nga po.
So, yan ay patunay lamang na kailangan talaga magbago ang bansa na hindi lang transformational, kung hindi talagang pati structural, revolutionary in the new world. Ngayon, kung ano ang future ng mundo at ano ang hugis nito, hindi natin alam kasi nag-i-evolve, lalong-lalo na ngayon, Tia. Nagkakagulo sa Europe ngayon dahil Russia at Ukraine. Nagigirian. Tapos, high na high tayo sa renewables. High pa rin tayo ngayon. Kaso dahil sa over-reliance sa renewables na nag-fail ang mga systems nito sa ibang mga bansa, nubuksan na naman nila ang mga traditional na power plants nila. Kaya umaakyat na naman ang presyo ng mga langis ngayon. Kaya talagang napaka-unpredictable ng mundo. And the best way naman to guard against that is to have sinasabi nating adaptive at agile country. Nakikita natin ngayon na kaya naman tayo hindi makareact ng mabilis dahil ang istruktura natin, pampolitikal at societal din ay very rigid. Nakaposas ito. Nakaposas ang gobyerno na makagalaw. Dahil puro check, puro check, puro check. Walang tiwala. Ang foundation ng government, no, yung ating saligang batas, puro check yan. Kasi ang tingin ko, ang ating saligang batas ay isa lang ang purpose nito na ma-erase yung nangyari before EDSA. Ngayon, tingin ko tapos na ito. Ngayon, wag naman tayong mapunta sa usapan na constitutional change dahil hindi rin ito sagot kung hindi na-build yung capacities ng ating constituent units. Ating physical capacities, infrastructure, local government capabilities, education. Kasi hindi solusyon ang magpapalit ng batas at sistema kung hindi paggagawa ng mga institusyon na pakikinabangan ng tao, na magbibigay laya sa tao na mabuhay ng marangal, may kaalaman, malusog, at ligtas sa kapahamakan. No? And then, magkakaroon na siya ng laya na mag-isip kung papaano pa ma-improve ang kanyang buhay at papaano makipagsapalaran or makianib sa governance, whether on the elective side. Ngayon, malihis din ako. Importante din, nag-uusap tayo ng edukasyon. Saan din tayo hindi nag-i-invest sa education? At napaka-importante nito. Kasi pag iniisip ng ating mga kababayan, gobyerno, ang unang pumapasok sa ulo nila, sino ang ihahalal natin bilang ating mayor, governor, presidente, senador. Huwag nating kakalimutan ang spinal cord ng ating gobyerno na nagbibigay ng continuity. Yan ay ang both national at local government bureaucracies na kailangan investan natin lang lahat ng pagkakataon ng edukasyon para magkaroon siya ng expertise kasi sila ang magbibigay ng policy guidance sa ating mga elected officers. At sila ang nagiging pagpapatuloy ng serbisyo sa sa harap ng pagpapalit ng mga administrasyon.
Right.
Ito ay napaka-importante para sa ating kinabukasan.
That's a huge task. Maganda yan. Maganda yung sinasabi nyo. Kasi even from experience, my experience from compared to yours naman, sir, is very small. Pero nakita ko rin naman po yun sa DepEd na pagpalit po ng administrasyon, yung bureaucracia po, parang hindi sila equipped. Parang hindi po nila matatransfer kung ano po yung nangyari in the past administration for continuity. So, paminsan-minsan ang nangyayari, or hindi naman sa paminsan-minsan, pero ang totoo dyan, ang nangyayari is kailangan nyo pa pong habulin para po maituloy kung ano po yung napagsimulan. 'Di ba? At hindi po yan nanggagaling sa bureaucracia. Sad to say, yun ang experience, naging experience ko rin po.
Yan ang sa tingin ko, kailangan pag-aralan natin kung paano natin mapapagtibay ang ating civil service from a formalistic system to really a knowledge-based system, no? At mag-invest tayo talaga sa ating mga bureaucrats, no? Nangyari naman ito nung araw. Napakadaming mga dalubhasa sa gobyerno. Sa katunayan nga, ang daming nakuha sa kabinete nung araw na galing sa akademik, no? At hindi lang basta-bastang galing sa academe, no? Kung talagang graduate sa highest educational institution sa ibang mga bansa, no? Baka pwede din tayo mag-second ng mga tao sa bureaucracy. Ang problema kasi, ang classification ng public officials at strictures dito ay napaka on the one hand inhibiting sa mga tao na tumulong sa gobyerno.
Correct.
Kasi napakaraming prohibisyon, napakaraming bawal, napakaraming Monday morning quarterbacking na magdesisyon ka ngayon based on the facts before you is a second guess ka. So ito ay balakid or hadlang sa volunteerism na tumulong ang tao sa gobyerno at mag-participate. So, hindi lamang edukasyon, kung hindi insentibo na sumama sa gobyerno para mapabuti ang pamamalakad ng ating birokrasiya ang kailangan gawin.
My last question for you, sir. And you can include here also the things that we do at the armed forces, because I know that we both went through that, but of course you more. In order for us to be able to understand that way of life and contribute to being part of the armed forces of the Philippines, we actually had to live it, right? I'm reserved, so we had to live it, we had to know it, we had to understand it, we had to participate. And more students, the youth, are looking into this right now. They're looking for models, they're looking for examples. And when I talk to them, I watched a video of yours where you brought up this word that was very new to all of these young people, which was called perspicacity. Right? And so everyone was asking me, even other students were like, Teacher P, what is perspicacity? And I said, let's listen to, former Secretary Gibob, but I want this applied. Although I know the meaning, I asked them, how can you apply this, right, in your overall educative life? And I said, it includes for me, and I know this is your standard well, and I've heard Mayor Inday Sara say this as well, this is also her stand, we need to be able to contribute, these young people, to nation building, be part of it. So in your words, and your last words na rin po, perspicacity in overall education, your overall educative life, right, which includes being a nation builder.
Actually, I want to attract people who are perspicacious. I'm not saying that I am one, because sometimes I can also be quite bookish, no? Ang perspicacity kasi ay parang sixth sense yan eh. Judicious choices.
Yeah.
Wise, practicable choices na pwedeng gawang plataforma na sustainable at doable. Hindi basta-basta sa teorya lamang maganda, kung hindi sa tunay na buhay ay magagawa at masusustena. So ang pinakamahirap na choices sa buhay, no? Hindi lang sa batas, sa lahat, ay hindi choice between bad and good. Kung hindi between competing, yung naglalaban na goods. Let's say sa tatlong good, naglalaban-laban yan. Ang tamang pagpili kung ano ang pinaka-importanteng kabutihan dito sa tatlo na kinakailangan gawin, yan ang perspicacity. At yan ay nakukuha, siyempre, sa sentido komon, sa pag-aaral, at sa karanasan sa buhay. At habang tumatanda ang isang tao, nagpapalit din ang judgment calls niya at based din sa environment at sa sitwasyon. So, lahat ng karanasan na maaring maranasan ng kabataan na makakadagdag sa kanilang kapasidad na gumawa ng informed at tamang desisyon. May proseso yan. Magsaliksik sa isa, pag may problema o may suliranin, magsaliksik. Tignan kung may karanasan, kung walang karanasan, magtanong. And then, pumili after you inform yourself. Siyempre, nandyan din ang values at ang kalooban natin, but as much as possible, ang ating desisyon na gagawin ay maging objective. Ngayon, sa paghuhubog ng isang bansa, lalong-lalo na sa paghuhubog ng mga leader, hindi ito ginagawa overnight.
Yes.
Katulad ng ibang mga bansa, bata pa yung ibang mga professionals, ang ibang mga sektor, hinuhubog na ito para maging future leaders. Nagiging junior ministers, nagiging junior leaders na, no? So, ito ay panglalakbay ng bawat kabataan. So, lahat ng maaring niyang maranas na mabuti, at syempre may masama din. Dahil dyan tayo natututo ng leksyon, no? And sana, sa atin naman, na nakaranas na, mag-mentor din tayo ng mga kabataan. Kasi mentoring is also very important. It is not merely the transfer of education or stock knowledge, pero pag-share ng karanasan. On a very close level, para ikaw maging giya as much as possible sa iyong mga mini-mentor. So, hindi lang teaching, kung hindi mentoring. Importante din sa ating kinabukasan. Lalong-lalo na sa public service, no? Or sa private sector, sa institutional setting, mentoring is also important. Entrepreneurship, mentoring is also important. So, you learn the proper skills, values, and sometimes judgment calls. We don't always make the right choices, but let's at least try to minimize the times where we make wrong choices.
That's perspicacity for you guys. They've been asking me all week, pati yung mga teacher natin, ano ba tong perspicacity? Pero I fully agree with you kasi yung mga teachers din natin, mentors din po sila talaga. Parang nanay na tatay na rin sila sa ating kabataan. So, very well said, sir.
At saka, ang hirap, ano, sa batas, sa family code, may primary responsibility sila sa kahit anong mangyari sa mga kakabataan sa kanilang classroom. Kaya napakalaki ng responsibilidad personal ng teachers.
Tama po yun. Maraming salamat po, Secretary, soon-to-be Senator Gilberto Chodoro. Nagmana po kayo sa nanay ninyo. Napaka-accomplished po ng nanay ninyo. Grabe, I also read up on
nagmana rin naman ako sa aking ama. In fairness, kasi yung tatay ko ay academic din. My mother was purely academic. Yung tatay ko, the same, no? So, maswerte ako na may pinagmanahan, pero hindi ko matutularan wala pa ako sa kalahati sa kakayahan nila.
Yun rin ang sinasabi ko sa aking mga magulang. Wala pa ako sa kalahati nila. But at least pwede rin naman tayo maging giya sa mga kabataan. Nandiyan ka na po, sir. I'm so happy that your education agenda is very, very solid. It is the first time I'm hearing this after 12 years. And, what a relief, not just for me, but also for our teachers. Talagang, it's a vocation to be an educator po, sir. And you know this. Maraming salamat po for being on our
salamat, Pia, at maraming salamat sa ating mga guro. Yan po ay isang trabaho na hindi ko kaya. Kayo po ang may kaya. Kayo ay may pasensya, may pagmamahal. At kaya saludo po kami sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being on Education Radio. This has been Pia Morato. Education is the greatest equalizer. We've said it before. I got that from Sec Lapus. Don't tell him that I got it from him. I use it all the time. But thank you so much for being on Education Radio, sir. Hasta luego, everyone.
Hasta luego. Hasta luego, prima.
Hasta luego, prima.